Well, welcome back. Fancy meeting some of you here today. So it's lovely to see smiley faces as we continue our journey through our Coachathon live session. I didn't even get time to make myself a coffee. There we go. How committed am I? Never mind. How's the coaching going while we wait for people to hop on? Tell us. So yeah, there's got a few of you. Paula, come on, have you had any coaching yet? We can hear you.
Sorry, I've got mine later.
Oh, and which stream have you gone for?
I don't know. Oh, public speaking. Yes. Public speaking.
Oh, awesome. Paula is a really good public speaker already, is she not, Mel? We know Paula.
She is.
She has an amazing message to get out to the world. So I love that you want to get even better. Brilliant.
I think now it's just, you know what I'm like, you can't shut me up once I start. That's why I'm on mute all the time.
We mute Paula, yeah.
Used to it by now. You created a monster son. What you want?
And Mel, how about you? I know you signed up for a coaching session.
Oh, yeah, I have had mine this morning and it was blinking brilliant.
Blinking brilliant. Can we use that quote? We're trying to get quotes. We want to get lots of quotes about the power of coaching because we do think it is. Oh no, that's awesome. Which stream were you in?
Mindfulness, but for Paula's benefit, it wasn't woo-woo like you do know I like. It was less woo-woo than the tapping that we've done previously, but it was really, really good, and lots of great things to think about, which were a little bit different to the previous sessions I've had. So yeah, great.
Awesome.
I must admit, I did look at it and I was thinking, oh, should I go for something like that? But then I thought
there's still time.
I know, but you know what? I thought I don't want to put the poor coach off having to coach me on mindfulness when I'm like, I thought.
But do you know what, Paula? It was more around vision. It was about vision and purpose, which you are brilliant at.
Oh, I would mind that, yeah.
Yeah. So okay, and Sam and Kirsty, have you booked any sessions? Are you wanting to share where you're at just while waiting for any more to join us?
I've actually just had a session, and I'm someone who signed up, so I had a coaching session, and I have to admit, I loved every second of it. So thank you guys so much for arranging such a fantastic opportunity to connect with some amazing leaders from across the world, from what I can gather. So genuinely, really, thank you so much. Thoroughly enjoyed it. You need to do more of it. Please do more of it.
Oh, I love that, Kirsty. Thank you. Are you okay if we get a little testimonial from you that we can use?
Oh, I'm actually already starting to draft something up for my own leadership team. So I work for Asda. I'm one of their technology service managers, and I connected with Christelle. And what a fantastically amazing woman. Absolutely brilliant lady. So huge thumbs up from Asda on this. So thank you so much.
Oh, Kirsty, that's moved me. That has. Oh dear. This is what I'll be in floods by the end of the day, I'm sure. No, I love that.
If everybody's sessions are as fantastic as I am, what mine was, you're going to get a lot of very positive feedback. So thank you guys.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. That's amazing. We're just checking in, Geeta, with people in terms of experiences. So let's just see if anybody's got any other experiences they're wanting to share, and then we can focus on what we're supposed to be here to do. Palak or Sam or Tony or the person who's just joined, whose name I can't quite see. Two Tonys. We've either got two Tonys or we've got one Tony on two devices. Welcome. If you've had any coaching and you're still not sure whether to have a coaching session, get yourselves booked on. There are still spaces available, and it's just an amazing day. And if you've not booked a session, then donate anyway. Hayden will keep putting the thing in the messaging because we want to raise loads of money for this amazing charity. And on that note, we're now going to hear all about this amazing charity from Geeta and Malin. So I'm going to sit back and enjoy this session. So over to you guys.
Thank you so much. And it's been such an amazing day, hasn't it? I made the mistake of coming off and couldn't work. I had to come back on, so I'm just staying here for the rest of the day to make it easier. Marlin, so we wanted to have a conversation now about microloan, because I chair the Women's Development Board, which is a small, tiny bit of microloan where we bring in amazing people like Sandra, who I hunt down and then bring on to do a phenomenal event like this. So that's really my entire raison d'etre in life, which is fantastic. It's a great job to have. And I'm actually from Malawi. And so I care so much about this, because I always think that there, but for the grace of God go I. I'm a single parent. I'm from Malawi. I'm a woman. I have kids. And the people we help are often single parents, and they're women, and they're from Malawi. And over the years, growing up Malawi, I saw AIDS decimated such a large proportion of our community. And what it did was it took away so many of the really young people that were there. And so you had grandmothers who weren't very old themselves, looking after children when they'd already finished looking after their children, now looking after their children's children. And it was incredibly hard. And what we do in microloan is not just give money, we give self-respect, we give power, we give confidence. And it's that kind of gives me goosebumps. The fact that somebody from anywhere who's listening to us, watching us, can come in and bring a sense of wholeness to somebody whose life otherwise can be so deeply miserable, right? So what I wanted to talk to you today about was, there are ways in which we educate these women in how to run businesses. We educate them in how to make a success of what they're doing. How do we, as Microloan, how do you and your team take a woman who's illiterate, often, very often, and has very little except working and scrabbling really hard? How do you take her to someone who's a business owner, who's successful, and who over 99% of the time will repay her loan? How do you take her to that place?
Yeah, it is a very, very involved process that has got Microloan to where we are today. We're actually, next year, we're celebrating our 20th anniversary. So it's 20 years of impact, you know, and it's taken us a long time to find the right way, to find the most effective way to get women to really get on board and to feel that they themselves have the right to financial inclusion, because we work in very, very patriarchal societies, which basically means that the women don't even necessarily feel themselves that they have the right to own assets or to run a business or to have their own income. So first, for us, it's a whole education piece, even way before the women get access to a loan. And you've got to remember over 70% of the women that we work with are actually trying to survive on little more than £1 a day to feed their family and to send their kids to school. You know, it's not going to work. You're going to go hungry, right? But also, in addition to that, like you said, Geeta, the fact that they are very often illiterate, particularly in Malawi, has got very, very low literacy rates. So, you know, we have women signing up with a thumbprint. You know, they can't even spell out the letters in their first name. So, which
is tragic, because when I was growing up in Malawi, our illiteracy rate was lower than Britain. We had 30%, under 28 to 29% illiteracy growing up. But because of the way Malawi is situated, yes, we've had some deeply corrupt governments, but we've also had flash floods. And because it's in a Rift Valley, it's just been a terrible place, you know, with climate change to actually survive. And we're primarily farmers.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's also created a challenge of, and especially if you look at the very poorest segment that Microloan works with, the illiteracy rates are much higher than they are in the general population. So therefore, before anyone gets access to a loan, because they might not even, they're not even illiterate in terms of reading and writing, they're also financially illiterate. So it's a matter of actually teaching them the really basics of what a loan is and how it works, and repaying the loan, and, you know, the whole, teaching them about savings, teaching them about really, really basic concepts, and then teaching them about how to run a business. Really, really basic things like, what's the difference between the money that's coming in, which is income, and the money of that, which is actually profit? or, you know, how do you budget and make sure that you can actually manage your finances and make sure that you have, you're purchasing your stock and your products at the right level from the best supplier.
I wish somebody had taught me to do all that when I set up my business. I think it's bloody
Really?
unreasonable, frankly. Why are you doing this, Justin? Now we should be setting them up round the corner. I'll totally sing my way to financial literacy if that's what it needs.
But you know, it's really interesting because whenever I bring, you know, donors out, and many of the donors that we bring out who are high-level donors, who are themselves entrepreneurs and have built business empires, come out and visit our work and they go, oh my God, I wish I had that. And also, I think they also love it because just like the women love it, the training is done in a way. First of all, it's done in local languages because it needs to be accessible to the very poorest women and they don't speak English. So it's our local colleagues in Zambia, Malawi and Zimbabwe who deliver the training. But it's done through singing and dancing and visual aids and role play and using what's lying around, you know, like you might use little stones to kind of point out this is how you're counting stuff, or, you know, like they really using what's around them. And it's a really engaged, the very opposite
process.
Of boring.
I think the other thing is also that if you think about it, you're taking someone who's hungry and poor and giving them a chunk of money. So that's actually the really starting point is, and you know, you've got to make sure that that person who's starving and poor doesn't think, hooray, food. And what you're actually trying to take them into a place, which I think is incredibly difficult, is to say to them, this is your future. It's not your food for today, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why before the women get access to the money, they actually have 7 training sessions, which teaches them about savings and understanding that it's a financial literacy education that they have to go through, so that when they get access to the money, they don't just take that loan and spend it on food, and then they're just as in 1 week they're just as hungry again.
Yeah.
Instead, they're actually creating something sustainable, because otherwise we as an organization would be kind of pointless, to be honest, because we're not creating a sustained and sustainable change.
Now tell me about what happens when you've taken these women and okay, so wait, the other thing I was going to say, tell me what happens when you've taught them these things. But actually, you do some of the teaching through not just by being engaging, but things like songs and things, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember we used to have to chant our times tables when we were younger, which does make me sound like 704 years old, but growing up in the middle of nowhere will do it for you.
This is the funny thing, because so at 4 o'clock today, so 4 p.m. GMT, I am actually chatting to one of our learn and training officers. Mm-hmm. And Maria and I had a little briefing call with her last week, and we were like, "Can you give us an example of a song?" And I'm like, "You don't have to, because you know, as being Swedish or British or whatever you are, you know, you kind of go, oh, we don't want to sing." And she's like, "Yeah, let's do it." You know, it's like 0 problems with being like just singing away, and that is also very much the vibe when you go into a training session. All the women get involved and they sing and they dance, and you know, you've got the Microloan song, and it's and that also helps them remember what they learn, because they can't write it down and take it home with them.
Exactly.
There are also really interesting training sessions that I have to talk about as well, because there is a training session on what happens if your husband steals your money. There's an actual role play module.
Love that. I could have really used that. I'm telling you, I'm going to go sit. I'm totally going to training center in Malawi.
Because this is something that, again, the women are not used to having
agency
when it comes to the household finances. So the husband may just take the money, because the money that is in the household is ultimately for the husband to decide how to spend. Our impact in terms of seeing what the difference it is for the women, their agency and their decision-making power in the household is super interesting. We had the University of Edinburgh has done a couple of different studies for us. And it's just really interesting to see that the women are actually deciding on how they spend their money. Like 83% of the women
Wow.
are themselves deciding. Many of the women, obviously they work in partnership, you know, they work together with their husbands, but yeah, it's really the empowerment piece is massive.
It's so cool.
Total game changer, actually, for the women.
And then also for their children, because ultimately, if you want to change the life of a child, you change the life of the parent first, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's the training sessions are super engaging.
I can't wait for to hear that bit. But there was something you said that I wanted to pick up on, the Microloan song.
I don't know it, Geeta.
Malin, come on. You knew that was coming next. You knew. Why, Sandra? I think we should lodge a complaint in this one. What do you mean you don't know the Microloan?
I'm blown away that Microloan's got a song. That's amazing.
I'm blown away that she doesn't know it.
We're going to have to come on at 4 o'clock, and then we're going to have that. We're going to have
Well, the Microloan song is actually in Chichewa, so it's in Malawi, and the person who's got on is in Zambia, so it's the wrong language. So unfortunately, she's not going to sing it either.
Bits of, I know there's a common border there, bro. So there's bits of it where she probably could speak some Chichewa, but that's quite new, frankly. I think
from Livingston, so she's from the wrong part of the country.
Wrong part. I think that it's really unfair, and that you should come on knowing bits of that Microloan song going forward. And Sandra and I are united in this. I just would like to point this out.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's quite funny, because I was talking to my mother, because whose Chichewa is still completely fluent, because she lived in Malawi for 57 years. And I was trying to get her to come on at 4 o'clock, so that because the only person that we have around who could be speaking Chichewa. So I'm still going to see if we can get her to, come on. It'd be quite fun. I think it'd be quite fun to have her have that conversation. But yeah, okay. So you've got these women, you've give them 7 classes where you're saying, here's what to do with the money. I just wish Barclays and HSBC would pick this up, because I think it's such a good idea. And then you are, okay, you can have your loan. How does that process work?
So it's different in the different countries. So in Malawi, we're still using cash. So they actually get their loan in cash. So there's a
lump sum
meeting, and the disbursement meeting where we disperse, they can give the women their actual loans. Oh my God. You think they're singing and you think there's dancing. It is going wild. It's so much
because they're
fun, and it's a real celebration.
Yeah.
And the loans are for the new starters, the startup loans are 20-25 pounds. And then the women, we don't decide what they should do with their loans, because they know what happens in their villages and in their communities. So the women decide themselves, but now they have the knowledge to make kind of informed decisions on what's going to work, what type of businesses should I be doing. And they talk to each other, because we work with groups of women. They support each other in these groups.
Yeah, how many people are in each group?
So there's 5 women in each group who are jointly responsible for each other's loans. So that's our kind of risk mitigation tool.
Oh, interesting.
Because we don't
They're literally all responsible for everybody's loan.
Yeah.
So can they decide who goes into the group? This is like a mastermind, isn't it? Can they decide who goes in?
Yeah. So the women decide themselves who is in their group, because they are going to be jointly responsible. And that means that,
what if they don't
we don't decide, they decide.
Oh, they're friends already. Okay, good. Because I was like, it's like being that last person left standing at school being picked for a sports team, isn't it? You're the person going, I promise I can run. Please pick me. Okay, so you put them in 5. That's your kind of risk mitigation, because that's kind of like you're all responsible for the loan together.
Yeah.
And
what we see, the cool thing about that is actually not just the fact that means that the very poorest women can join us, because you don't need to have a collateral. You don't need to own anything as security to join a group, because the other women are your security. So but in addition to that, they have the groups of 5, but once a month around 5 groups of 5 come together for a training session, and then they meet other entrepreneurs and get inspired and learn from each other and do all that kind of stuff. So that's also really exciting, because then there's a big there's a massive learning opportunity for the
I
women.
love
To meet
that.
someone who might be doing the same business as them, for example, because quite often in the small groups of 5, they won't be doing the same businesses, because that wouldn't make good business. They'll saturate the market if they do that. If everyone sells tomato in one little village, then you'll have a saturated tomato market, which is not what you want. So then they might meet people in that larger group.
That is so interesting. So you're saying that once you've lent them the money, there's ongoing training as well.
Yeah.
And that's what, every month, every 2 months?
Every month, there's an actual business training session. So now they've graduated from basic financial literacy. Now they go into business training. So now they learn to do, so for example, there's a marketing and market research piece, where they can find ways of how to boost their business. Should they be stacking their tomatoes in a certain way? Maybe they shouldn't be having a stall in the local market. Maybe they should be selling the tomatoes door to door. Maybe that's a more effective way of doing it.
Well, that's usually how.
Lots of different ideas, and these training sessions build on that. Savings is a really, really important piece.
But where are they putting the savings?
So in Zimbabwe and Zambia, we're using mobile money. So it's digital disbursements of loans. And
like M-Pesa.
Kind of like M-Pesa, yeah. Mm-hmm. Different types of mobile money providers, but yeah, kind of like M-Pesa.
Yeah.
In Malawi, they put the savings in a bank, so we help them open a bank account.
Yes, that's
what we've done. The same thing in Zambia and Zimbabwe as well for the savings, which means that for the first time in their lives, they are welcome into a bank.
No, babe, in generations. For the first time in generations. Yeah. Sometimes from the first time since they've known in their lives, they have a bank account, right?
Yeah. And that is definitely something where we see the pride of the women when they have an opportunity to actually walk into a bank and can say that I have a bank account, because they would normally be shooed out of the bank.
Yeah, they would, because they're walking in barefoot and they're walking in the clothes that they come in from the village. And they would be terrified of it, right? And they'll usually be dealing with a man who's educated, who's dressed in a shirt and trousers, who would look down on them as being somebody from a village. The thing I find so interesting about this is, for all of us, if you spend time thinking what £25 means for you, and how I honestly, in terms of even my children, who are definitely not the biggest spoiled brats, although they're irritating, it must be said, but then they're children, they're meant to be. If you look at what we do with £25, if you look at how much £25 just isn't that big a deal for us, yes, it's in money and it's really important. It is so interesting to think that this entire journey is to go to the place where you can give someone £25. And because what is happening is that £25 is utterly life-changing, generationally life-changing. Mm-hmm. So if you're putting in a hand and helping a woman up, and that's £25 that's doing it, it kind of, for me, one of the reasons I work with Microloan, and I have done for so long, is because it always blows my mind how little can transform the evolution of another woman. It just doesn't need very much. And every time I go in Starbucks, I'm gobsmacked by how much a blooming coffee costs. And I'm like, I'm so much happier giving that to Microloan and sold the coffee. But that's just me. But it's just everything you've said so far is just for £25. Isn't that insane? There's just a place where I think you have to kind of take that in, because for us, it's not that amount of money, and yet it's utterly life-changing for someone else.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I do think the fact that in the day of the Coachathon as well, looking at the difference that the training and the ongoing support and the coaching that our local colleagues provide to these women, they have the training once a month, but in addition to that, they meet with the individual groups every month as well, and give them, so they got one-to-one, they do problem shooting. For anyone who's started a business will know that it will not be smooth sailing, and it certainly won't be smooth sailing in these environments. So they're going to come across challenges, and that definitely our teams are there to help them with that.
The other thing that I find interesting as well is that when I've talked to you, what I've also learned is that with every woman you give money to, we give money to, as I don't want to say we, because you guys are the ones that do all the hard work, and I smile, and corral people like Sandra, but we as an organization give money to. It's that there's, on average, it changes the life of 4 children. Yeah. Right. So not only again, let's just blow our mind a little bit, but 5 coffees, 25 quid takes 7 lessons for us to give you that 25 quid of training. Right. Then once we've given it to you, you've got to navigate how to take that cash into your home, how to keep it safe, how to open a bank account, how to step with that absolute fear to step into another place where people are going to think, who do you think you are? Because this is our small community and you're trying to make yourself bigger than you are and bigger than your husband, which is absolutely unacceptable. Right. Because the real fear of something like that. And then you're taking children whose lives could otherwise just be awful, and you're transforming with £25 the lives of 4 children.
Yeah, yeah. It is a very, very big impact for a fairly small amount of money in relative.
Oh, negligible in those terms.
I think one thing, I'm going to signpost to the 1 p.m. session today, because there's also, obviously, it costs a lot more to provide training and support for a woman than £25, obviously. But Microloan is a very, very different kind of organization, because we use that loan capital, we reuse it, and we're also able to take on social investments so that every single pound that's donated to us goes so much further. The impact is multiplied. I'm not going to do any spoilers, but it just means that it goes so much further than, every pound donated.
Isn't that the panel I'm chairing? I love how you're saying that, and I'm smiling along, and I'm like, oh, hold up, I'm doing that one. Yes, I'm going to find, because if those of you that don't know anything about this, that would be me. I usually need a dictionary to understand any of this. I'm going to be learning about it and exactly what that sentence you just said meant, because honestly, I have no clue. Well, no, let's not pretend that I know anything about, talk to me about health or even law, sadly, because I was a lawyer, but nothing about social investment. I don't understand it. I don't understand how it works. It doesn't mean anything to me. And it's a very good do-goody thing for me. And so that was one of the reasons I wanted that panel, because I wanted to understand what that means when people talk about social investment and impact investment. So we're doing that this afternoon at some time. 1 o'clock. Oh, good. Soon. I'll be there. I knew that. Okay, so someone like you, Malin, when you are doing, why do you do this? Why do you do? Because you're actually, just for those of you that don't know, Malin's literally the Stalin of philanthropy in our lives. We'll try and do something. She'll be like, nope, doesn't bring enough money. When do they like, nope, don't do that. And there's just a place where you're like, and so she's literally looks really angelic, and she's deeply terrifying. Why do you do what you do?
So it's a really difficult question because it's so complex. Good. Right? We're not. Take your time. I'm here. Slightly. We're not one-dimensional, are we? So I studied politics with a focus on sub-Saharan Africa, and I've worked in the international development sector for about 15 years, and that came through the wanting to give back, but also looking at an area or a continent of the world where poverty is growing, which it isn't in any other part of the world. So for me, it was the choice of what to support and who to support. I'm a raging feminist, so wasn't too difficult to make that decision. But in terms of picking Microloan and deciding to work for Microloan, it's because it's a more thoughtful way of giving, in the sense that it isn't just chucking money at the problem. Having worked in the international development sector for so many years, making sure that it's actually locally owned, and that the people who are the beneficiaries, or we call them clients, because we should be treating them as clients, not as beneficiaries, as if they are the stars. The women are the heroes in this. And working with them, that's what appeals to me, and that's why this is the choice for me, because it is owned by the women, and it is driven. We want maximum social impact, which means that we should be giving to women because they spend their money on their kids in their home, and we also know that women are going to pay back their loans. So it makes good business sense, but also the fact that there is a sustainable model in here. It's not just chucking money at the problem, but it's actually, as an organization and as an institution in the countries we operate in, we are sustainable as an organization, and the women are building sustainable businesses for themselves.
Okay, but I still want to, and thank you, because that's really helpful, but that's a bit party line. I'm asking you, Malin, why you do this. Because
for me, it's a lot about women.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me because one of the things I really admire about you and about your team and about what you do is that there is such a, and I don't know that I could do this. This is why I'm asking you, because I've been extremely poor trying to bring up my children. And that's all I focused on, was bringing up my children. And now I spend my time when I'm not that poor to try and give back. But what you do is you wake up every day and think, how do I make the world better? How do I make this small bit of the world better? And there's so much crap going on that you would, it's, you know, it's also an effort to focus in on, here's Malawi, here's Zambia, here's Zimbabwe, here's what we do in Microloan. So why do you do it?
For me, it's definitely, it's the focus on women is what I'm truly, truly passionate about, and the part of the world that we operate in. Those two things are what really gets me up in the morning and makes me go, yes, because it's going to make a difference for the future. That is what makes the difference for me. The fact that, you know, you've got to, we have inequality. Women are, there's inequality all over the world, right?
Okay.
But it is just on an extreme level. So let's just, for me, it's like, let's just focus where the problem is the biggest. That is not to say that we don't have a problem here.
Well, no, I was going to say one of the highest, something I'm speaking about next week, is one of the highest risk categories of lending is that really, really deplorably scary place to be, a woman of color. And that is no matter where you are in the world, right? A woman of color is the biggest, highest risk for any institution to lend to. I'm not quite sure what we ever did to become that highest risk institution for an institution, but we are. We're labeled that high risk. And what you do is you wake up every day and you work at how to make those women stronger, powerful, and more confident by giving them a future, right? I just think that's so interesting.
I think it also comes down to personal experience, right? So I lived and worked in Uganda and saw the strife of the women every day and saw how they were struggling to feed their kids. And, you know, for me, seeing that really, really changed things for me. That was the thing where, you know, looking at the decisions that the women have to make, they have to decide if they're going to be able to, like, give medical treatment to their kids,
or eat.
Are they going to be able to even you know, they can't even take the bus to go to the healthcare center. So they're going to have to go, no, we can't feed the family if we do this. So this kid is just not going to get access to medication.
So the other thing that I want to bring up, because I like bringing up touchy subjects, is that there's a place where poverty is very off-putting. You know, it's kind of like people look at poverty and actually think that these people, you know, that's something I hear a lot. And I'm watching the smoke come out of Malin's ears just as this conversation starting. But there's a place where poverty is not attractive. It's very off-putting. It's very difficult to manage. And you look around and you think, oh my God, there's so many people that need help. How do I choose this person or that person? But I think what people don't understand is that when you're poor, one hand up is all you need. It's not that, I mean, this isn't true for 100% of the world, but it's true for 98% of the women that you'll meet. One hand up. And that one hand up is what is transformative for you and your children and their children between staying in poverty and not being in poverty. And there is a place where some of these women, they just don't have any hope, and it's not their fault. Right? They're in that place because that's where they were born into, and there isn't another way out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, again, it's that thing of being able to give someone an opportunity. I think it's super important to, when we talk about poverty, to not think that poverty is a person. People are people, you know, to see the people behind the poverty, because they are just people like all of us. There is no difference. It's just a set of circumstances, you know. And I think also not seeing people just because you're poor doesn't mean that you're a victim. And it also doesn't mean that you should be grateful for everything you get. You're a human being. You don't have to walk around being grateful just because you're poor. It's just such a horrible way. And a lot of people think that way, that
they do.
Yeah, it's really, really problematic.
Yeah,
and I think it's a mindset that needs to shift in the rest of the world as well.
I think so, and that's why I'm bringing it up, because I think that we don't talk about poverty enough, and I've had the privilege of being homeless and poor and extremely poor, and so I like to talk about poverty, because if someone who looks and sounds like me will talk about poverty, maybe somebody else will listen, because it doesn't happen to someone else. It doesn't happen to someone at the other end of the world. Poverty happens. And poverty, when it happens to you as a woman with children, as a mother, is a completely different environment than poverty in wherever it is or isn't. But because women, when they're poor, think really, really clearly in terms of kids. And it's so interesting to me always that you take a very poor woman and you'll help her, or she'll help herself, or she'll make money. And it becomes about feeding. It'll sort of become about clothing, but then it becomes about educating. It's how fast can you help someone to get educated, because you're looking at your child thinking, let this never happen to you.
Yeah,
right.
We definitely see that with the women that we work with. Like the priority number one after food is education. And the interesting thing is that's from women who don't have an education themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
Illiterate.
And
then
I remember
the one priority after feeding their family is paying school fees.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people to understand this, because I remember as a child, with our immense wealth and privilege, watching these children walk to school, and they were clean every day. They wore clean clothes every day. And you look at the absolute mountain you have to climb to put a child, when you're poverty and hungry, in clean clothes to get them to school, to have the book, to buy the slate to write on, to do all of that. And that's what these women do with the money, right?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. Yeah, food and education, and creating building a better home for their family. That's the goal for the women,
Yeah, and I think it unifies us across the world, because every mother wants that for their children, and that's something that. So, I hope you found this an interesting chat. I always find it fascinating to talk to you, because I think we rarely touch even on the depth of knowledge that you have about this area, because you're just an expert on this area. And it's so interesting, because I'll say something really stupid about something with fundraising, and Malin goes, so the studies on this show, and she'll terrify me with data, and I'm just like, I'll go hide in the corner now. But I just want you who are watching and listening, that whatever you can give, as you can see, the smallest amounts transform lives, and it matters so incredibly much. So whatever you can do, there isn't anything that isn't too small an amount. If £25 changes the life of a whole family, of a woman of 4 children, then anything, even the £5 that you can give, is in the way to becoming that £25. So there's nothing. It's not like, gosh, I need £10,000 to transform anything. We don't. If you want to give us £10,000, please don't stop yourself. We would be utterly delighted for you to do that. But the £5 makes a difference. And I really thank you so much for your time, Malin.
Thank you, and thanks to everyone who's listening. And I mean, I think maybe we should just share how much money we've raised.
How much have we raised?
That would be Hayden. Maybe do you have the slide?
I have the page that I can share my screen and show you all.
That's what I meant.
So,
Lovely. Even I don't know what's going on. It's like,
It'd be nice to translate that into the number of people we could help with that amount.
We will.
We have got that on this page.
Wow.
So we have raised so far £18,025. So this equates to 721 women accessing the startup loan and business training that they need. And we said just then between Malin and Geeta that a lot of most of these women have 4 children on average. So we can say that this money has also helped around 2,884 children.
That is
So,
insane.
It's amazing.
Oh my God, isn't it make you want to
Brilliant,
cry?
guys.
I'm so
Awesome.
grateful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. And still coaching sessions to book. Get
Yes, there
yourselves
is.
on one already. We are, yeah, that's amazing. It's just lovely to see it going up and up. Fantastic. And I'm sure it will continue to rise. Fingers crossed, everyone, we can get to 20K. How
We
amazing
will.
would
Oh
that
no, come on. It's
be? Oh, we've got
11:42.
to.
We will. I'm going to go
We had
and
a coaching session booked. I just got a notification. Another coaching session.
Hey,
Good.
awesome. Love that it's going bing, bing, bing through the day. That's amazing. Yeah,
At
brilliant.
11:34.
I'm going to
So-
leave you because I'm going to go and take a dictionary and look up words like social impact and all that,
Yeah,
so that I look intelligent
One
at
up.
1 o'clock.
Geeta's back on at 1 with an amazing panel of amazing women. So if you get
Terrifying.
to-
Totally terrifying.
I'm back on at 12. We're talking about the WLA if you want to find out about it. See you in a moment.
Amazing.
Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.